Tēnā tātou katoa, e whānau mā, e noho nei. Ka tīmata i te huihuinga e karakia whakamutunga. Tīmatanga, aroha mai. Whakatakatata ki te uru, whakatakatata ki te tonga. Kia bā, kene ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi ake ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhunga, haumi e hui e tāi ki e.
Yeah, I'm just going to let her into the room and then you can introduce her.
Is it? Oh, shiny. I've got...
Kia ora, mate.
Oh, tēnā koe, ngā mihi kia koe.
Kia ora.
Ai, aroha mai whānau. Bear with me. Me wiki te matu nui te rangi. Me whakanore tō tātou kuini hau. Tariki nui. Nā waihono i te pō tātou te whirawhiro te tua waru. I te whare ariki, rire hau. Paimare. I ngā mate, i hui, huhua ngā mate, i haere, ki te kanohi o rā, ngā mori o rātou mā e noho nei, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. E mihi ana kia tātou i tai mai nei te hui. I te hui nei, whakahirihira, mō mātou whānau whanaunga. E mihi ana kia koutou, ngā kamupene, i hanga ngā whare hau, i te whenua nei. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko waihau, ko Trevor Davis tōku ingoa. This is we're a new rōpū hoping to utilise our whenua from our tupuna o Papakaainga i tō tātou Papakaainga. Mō mātou whanaunga. Just like to welcome our guests, our esteemed guests here this evening, and would like to take on board any help or assistance or in terms of your particular companies, in terms of what your mahi does or are or build in terms of Papakaainga. So without any further ado, nobody wants to listen to me. So I think our first kamupene is Build Flex Solutions. Aroha mai. Now I'm going to Flex. Cheyenne. I'm going to unread. Shit.
Ka pai.
Ai, paere. Kei a koe, matua.
Yeah, okay. Kia ora tātou. Ko Shane Hakarai tōku ingoa. I stem from Ngāti Whakauē, Te Aroa Waka, and also Ngāpui. And I'm staying in Ngāpui at the moment with my beautiful wife and family. And yeah, I've just been invited here today, so I thought I'll take a bit of time just to be involved in just having a little bit of a listen, but also sharing a little bit of my journey of what I do professionally, but not also just that businessly, but just sharing a little bit of what we've done around our own Papakaainga and other Papakaaingas that have been done in my sort of outer whānaus. And so, that's what I'll speak a little bit about. So thank you to Kelly, who has put me in amongst all of this. And it's always awesome to share a little bit knowledge and just a little bit of stuff of what we're doing. My name's Shane Hakaraya. I'm the director and senior project manager for Sons on Top Group and Build Flex Solutions. I've been in the building industry for over 20 years myself as a qualified and LPB builder. I'm now project managing within my, not so much just within my company, but we've also started up a new consultancy arm business to sort of help out a whole different range of things and design, develop and build. And so Sons on Top Group's been formed this year amongst other tradies and other business members that I'm involved with, and we are running that all over New Zealand. I suppose how I got involved in this is that I think Kelly must follow a whole lot of my stuff and content on social media, and we are always doing things in our earth moving program. So we own a whole lot of machines and operators. We're also training and have apprentices, and we work alongside a whole lot of different people, I suppose, when you call it developing or new developments. So we've worked in places. I've come out of a small sort of program that we did in Queenstown, which was for a Ngaitahu branch. But I've come back to Northland in the last probably year. This is where we've basically got whānau land, and we've my whānau individually have built our Papakaainga houses and homes already on the whenua. And obviously my brothers and other members are still to do that. But we've moved into our whare's Christmas just gone, and we had a big sort of housewarming for that to be able to do it. It was going back probably a 5-year dream. And so we basically got into a place called Horeke or Wairere in the South Hokianga, not far from Kirikiri. That's where I'm sitting right now. And 5 years ago, this place was only bush and no one knew how to put the driveway into this place. But here I am sitting here in this meeting today, sitting in the home that I live in today. So we do a whole lot of work up and down the country for people like Kāinga Ora, a lot of government agencies, local government, Whānau District Council, whāngarei. So I've been involved in building a whole lot of the infrastructure and civil developments in the north after coming out of Rotorua. And as maybe some of you may know, down in Rotorua, there's been a whole lot of developments and moves that Ngāti Whakaue have been doing down there. And so I was involved in a whole lot of that stuff in the early stages, and I know that they've done a whole lot more since the time that I've been gone. But I'm trying to give a little bit more time to my Ngāpuhi side because it's a little bit behind up here. It hasn't been developed, obviously, and there's so much potential and new training to be done with the younger people. And so that's what we're focusing on, is trying to help whānaus, but also individuals get to more of a dream or aspiration and their goals. So in a nutshell, we basically work with a whole lot of, we've just come off a development where we've done a similar project, might be a little bit small to what you guys are doing at the moment, and wanting to talk about and establish and fulfill. But we do it on a daily basis where we do cut-ins for that it might be the start of whenua or their land, where we get the consent after it's obviously been through the planners and project managers have sorted all that out. We do a little bit of that as well, but my crew basically come in and we put it all to make it real for everybody. So once the plans are all stamped and approved, we come in and we contract in and we get it sorted for you guys. And so new roads, all the infrastructure, we do a whole lot of work with Te Puni Kōkiri. This personal Papakaainga that I'm sitting in now, that is finished. We actually didn't use any of the grants because we kind of did it privately, just to show that maybe at this time we might be able to use any grants in the future on another sort of Papakaainga lands or whenua that you really need it done, where others can be involved. This one we kind of funded it ourselves just to show a little bit of, a bit of leadership and meetings where they go forever, 20 years, 30 years, and I suppose that's all right. If it takes that long, then that's how long it takes. I do have whānau that have a beautiful looking Papakaainga that they've done down in Kohu Pātiki Marae in Hastings. And we've just come out of there at Christmas time, actually. My crew were involved in the Cyclone Gabriel, so we dropped all our projects, everything what we were doing. And we went down and helped a lot of Māori down there that had no insurance at the time. And we ended up being involved in being one of the main contractors for the housing down in Hastings, and also with all the orchards. And so because we had the machinery at the time, we come down from north, we were able to help a whole lot of whānaus sort of not fix their homes, because that's still happening now, but sort of just recoup everything that was happening at the time. And at that time, we stayed at one of our local maraes, Kohu Pātiki, where we were able to see the beautiful Papakaainga that's taken shape down there. So we got to live amongst it. And, that was a big eye-opener, not just for myself, but for some of the others. So it's cool to see other whānaus doing the same. Also, they've just done a new one here in Utukura. Very small scale, but it's what. And I understand that their budget was quite small, but they got the job done. So just looking at what you guys are wanting to do, because I've only spoke to Kelly briefly about, what you are wanting to do in the future. Whatever you can dream and whatever you have faith in, you can do that. And you never really have to chase the money, because the money will always follow the dream and the faith you got within in your rōpū. I think the most important thing, and I'm having it in my whānau right now, is trying to keep the unity and agreement going, because if you've got agreement, that's the biggest power you can have next to love. Pushing your idea and your Papakaainga journey forward. I know just talking with Te Puni Kōkiri daily, because I'm on the panel with a whole lot of their talks. We just had a meeting with Tama Pōtaka a couple of weeks ago. And so there's a whole lot of changes with Te Puni Kōkiri coming, and there's other aspects of different things happening, and everything's up in the air for Papakaainga, but never ever sort of just rely on those things, government funding, all that. I know it's there and you can go for it, and do go for those things, but there's nothing more powerful than having whānau get together, bring all your skills and your ideas and your what you do to make it all happen. And many hands make the light work, and I suppose that's how we do it. Before I sort of was talking a lot about what I do, but today whānau's come to us now to ask us how we actually built this place and got the civil done and got all the infrastructure done. And so I suppose that's why I'm here tonight, just to give a little bit of kōrero around what we've already did. And just speaking in the future is that we're actually turning some of the land here now to go alongside our Papakaainga. We're going to turn it into similar to Tamaki Tours or Mita Experience in Rotorua, but up here in the north, with more of a Ngāpuhi feel and style to portraying our message out there to the world. So, many things are possible. I think I really want to speak about the cool things that as a whānau, what we've been doing. That's probably more what I want to speak about tonight, business-wise, and what we actually do to help a project like yours forward. Yep, we can do it, but there's probably many more on this Zoom here tonight, and there's probably many more down in Waikato that are got the same talent that can help you guys get to where you want to go. And I suppose if you've got good planners around you and you've got good consultants that can sort of just cut some of the slack out, you've already got the idea, it can be done. Just go through the process and keep the faith and get to the other side. So, yeah, apart from that, that's a little bit of what I do as a profession and what I'm doing within my whānau for that Papakaainga, and wanting to do more on our lands and whenua going forward for others. So, yeah, kia ora tātou. If you've got any questions, fire them through, no worries.
If I can maybe just me all your tēnei te mihi kia koe o tō mahi nui shape, puku mahi e te mahi o te painga o te iwi. Engari, if you'd like to, thank you very much for sharing your experience and knowledge and all that, Shane. Just one question. What's some of the maybe issues that sort of are common that you sort of seem to face, if there is any, or maybe some of the challenges? What are the main sort of challenge that you would normally face on any of your projects?
Yep. I think I'll speak about just probably my main daily challenges that we kind of have. Obviously, in the past, it's, last government, there was lots of funding around, lots of good things happening. We've had big challenges this year on all projects, and I suppose that comes down to every consultancy, business, building firm, civil firm, where things are just dropped. And so I suppose for us, yep, we've had in all the years we've been trading for, and we've been around since about 2010, where we went into business ourselves, not working for somebody else. Yeah, I suppose it's just a matter of is what kind of projects are still out there, what kind of monies are still coming in privately. We're finding the private clients are a little bit better. And obviously in the past, the government stuff's been really good. But as you can see from last year after Cyclone Gabriel, took a big leap downwards, and it's still there now with obviously lending and banking. And so there's been a big question mark of, shucks, where's the industry going and how's it going to work? I believe that's on the come up now, and you can see that across the board happening, hopefully. It's very challenging. I know Auckland's been very challenging for some of my colleagues. North's a different story again. Yes, I think our biggest challenges is obviously just making sure that there's been work available going forward. From a Papakaainga perspective, our biggest issues there, and I'm only speaking because, man, just running your little whānau is a hard enough job to be able to run bigger whānau and then hapu, and then obviously iwi's even another big beast, and it can be. So I suppose it's a matter of, because I go into whānau hui's, they invite me in as a builder, constructor, consultant, and lots of arguing, not too much leadership going on, and there has to be leadership in to get the solution and the issues locked down. But I suppose it's the normal thing for our people. If we can get unity on the table, those are the biggest issues. That everything else it comes after that. So those have been my biggest issues for Papakaainga, family-wise, whānau-wise, is just to get agreements happening for whatever idea or area it is. And yeah, that can be quite challenging. So hopefully that answers your question, Matua.
Yes, thanks very much for that, Shane. That did answer my question anyway. Has anybody else got any question for Matua, Shane? Kororo mai.
Just, I'm not a builder or anything else like that. I've normally done admin. New term to me is cut-ins. I want clarity. I think I know what you mean by those, but I'm not sure. Could you explain it to me, please?
Sorry, what was that question? What word were you saying there?
Cut-ins. You said after the consent, you guys do some cut-ins?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So it's basically the surveys have been in, they've pegged up, and basically normally how we start it, especially with a big project like yours, would normally have a turning of the soil. Obviously, that's done early in the morning with a karakia of the hapu, or, as you would do any other important thing. And then basically we start cutting in. And so obviously once you start cutting in, or whatever you may call it, just starting the works is probably the better term for it, just the construction work starting. I suppose that's when everything's got the green light, it's all ticked off, we're good to go. Yeah, that's how that's what that kind of means. So hopefully that gives you an answer.
Yeah, I
there.
didn't want to assume I had it right. That's why I thought I'd ask the expert.
Okay, yep.
Ngā mihi.
Thank you. Bye.
Just the partai, Shane, what most of our whānau have been asking in our recent meetings that we've had every Sunday, which is surveying. Does your company do any of that kind of mahi at all? Because we're quite concerned how many whare we can actually get on that land. And so, yeah, we believe we can do it, but we're just not sure, especially when we're coming from, a beginner's part. So I think that's a big question, is surveying. Does your business supply that kind of mahi, or kia ora?
Yes, so we obviously work with other surveyors that work with us, and most of the time when we get a project, we like using the same ones, only because we know how they work and how they operate, what equipment they have, what gear they have. I think the biggest thing for you, because I understand you are talking about maybe 40 houses. I haven't seen the block you're talking about, and I understand that it has some significant parts to it. So I think your fella's biggest thing here, and maybe they're already here tonight, about to speak. But we do have planners that work amongst us as well, but obviously a planner because council have planners, right? And then you can also get private ones that can work for the hapu. And so to have a really good planner on board, along with whatever company you use to do the surveying, whether it's anybody, they will get your outcome of that alongside, with the council. I'm not sure which hapu it is down in, it might be down in Wellington somewhere, but I think they might have did it Ngāti Toa maybe, or one of those hapu or iwi down there. They actually went back to the council and gave them how it is, and so they cut all the rules. And so sometimes you can build around the district plan, which you guys will have in Waikato, and that's pretty easy to do. But when you want to do stuff outside the district plan, that's when resource management has to be involved, and consents and then that's when the planners are involved. And hapu sometimes get together because they have those expertise amongst themselves, and that's always a good way to do it, and it's a cheaper way to do it. But when you get a planner in, they're pretty good to go, and you can sleep at night knowing that they're going to do a good job for you guys, and they'll get the ideas of what you want, and then obviously, that's when you start getting the architects and all that involved after you know what you can actually get going on that site. And so, obviously you want to go, if you want 40 houses there, you can do that, but you've just got to figure that out with the planners so that they go back and box it up.
We seem to have lost him.
Because surveyors basically work to whatever can happen. And then they will come in and tell you realistically to whatever plan they're having to follow, this can happen or that can happen, or it's not going to happen. You're only going to be able to probably fit 30 houses or 20 houses in there because of, and so it's just a matter of having what you want, getting the right people involved in it to push it for you, and then try and get council obviously over the line to say, let them, as long as it fits all the different things you spoke about, that there's a puna there and a river. So they'll have rules around how close you can build to that river. And if you don't build that, you do build that close, then this has to be done, and they'll just have different rules and plans around how it has to be done, how it's got to be planted out. Is there any rock type of work that needs to be done to keep the banks stable for someone living close to that area? But you let all those professional people do all that work for you guys once you've given over the idea. And then obviously once all the RFIs come back from the council and stuff like that, you just work it out until you can get your resource consent over the line, and then obviously go for your building consent and civil after that, so, or at the same time. So hopefully that answers that.
Is there any other questions? Happy with that? Ka pai. Tēnei te mihi ki a koe anō hoki Shane, so wānanga, bringing your expertise to the tepu,
Right.
e te rangatira. No reira, tēnā koe. I believe we're moving on to our second guest, which is Thomas. Thomas, I'd just like to thank you very much, Thomas. E mihi ana ki a koe, I taimua nei, tēnei pō anō hoki. O tō tātou mahi te whenua nei. So Thomas, without any further ado, if you'd like to share with us your knowledge and expertise in your area. Thank you very much, Thomas. I'm going to try and take you off mute.
Can you hear me now?
Hi.
Okay. Kia ora koutou, everyone. My name's Thomas. I'm from a development consultancy based in Auckland. It's been our mission over the last 6 or 7 years to help empower more people, more communities to put together property development projects, really trying to focus on helping people that have never been through the process before. I've got a background both working as an architect and as a property developer, and some part-time property investment as well. So not only over the years have we helped a lot of clients through various property development projects, we've also strung together some of our own development projects. We've just recently completed one in Te Arotu Peninsula, where in an area where there's been an oversaturation of terraced housing projects, we relocated existing 1950s and 60s weatherboard homes to the site and renovated them to be sold onto the market, targeting a first home buyer demographic. So I can say I've had my own experience of doing my own projects. I know how sort of daunting it can be, how stressful it can be at times, what it's like to be the one paying the bills as well. You know, it does keep you up at night. But where we come from is that we try to create a very clear and transparent process to help guide people through the process and making sure that they're feeling informed and confident at every step of the way, you know, to be making the right decisions. Because obviously, especially when you've got multiple stakeholders involved, and you're working on a larger site, like I believe the one you're working on, you know, you've got to make sure that everyone is brought along that journey with you and understands along the way exactly what's happening next, and what are all the decisions that need to be made. I do have a couple of documents. Am I able to share my screen? If I can bring up here. So firstly, can everyone see that document? Okay, so this is our sort of, I guess, one of our initial brochures we help pass on to people regarding our development advisory. And so we've got four main pillars of what our advisory service offers. Number one is clarity of process. As I was saying before, it is quite a complicated and at times tricky process to go through a property development. There are a number of obviously very important key steps, and for us we want to try and highlight these as early as possible and make it very clear that everyone knows what's happening along the way and what the next steps are. Number two is obviously financial transparency and accuracy on a project is absolutely crucial. The feasibility stage, which you guys are in now, that paves the way for a successful project. It's about building that good foundation. And feasibility is both from a design and planning perspective, but also from a financial understanding, making sure you've got your numbers right as early as possible. Even if you don't have, quotes on everything and you don't have, absolutely fine-tuned numbers, you want to make sure you've allowed for all the various aspects that are going to creep in. The more you get into a project, the more that those numbers become refined. But obviously, it's trying to be as early as possible about what the sorts of costs are going to creep into a project. So for us, that's super crucial. We also, given that I've got an architectural background, we have a considered and rigorous design approach. Either for us, we can actually do the designing consenting work, or we can work alongside other architects or designers to manage that design process. If we are more sitting there as an outside consultant and you've got an architect on board, then we bring the architectural background and experience to be able to review drawing sets and make suggestions and help provide some guidance along that way. And also number four, being environmentally conscious, which is more and more becoming important, absolutely. And I feel like in the New Zealand building environment, we're definitely not doing enough on that front yet. People are starting to make the right moves, and there's a lot more help being provided out there, but it's going to take a good number of years, I think, for more and more projects to really step into that environmentally conscious side of things. But that one of our things that we're really it's a key point that we're really keen to drive into more projects as we go forward. So just skipping through a few things here. Obviously, undertaking the right project, it can be life-changing for people, and for us, it's about, as I say, trying to provide that advisory service to help you understand what the process is and guide you through that. A little bit about us is my wife, Jess, and I, we started the business, and we work together. Jess has got she's a painter. She's got a master's in fine arts, and she's also got a background as a property investor and she was a real estate agent for a number of years. But it's more our love for stringing together development projects and being creatively minded and have a focus on good design. That sort of that's our kind of key focus on projects. And the way we work in terms of a team structure is that we partner up with the main body, which is yourselves in this project, but then we become the person that helps you deal with all the external consultants, of which there's plenty in a project. From designers, planners, surveyors, civil engineers, geotech engineers. There's a whole host of other consultants that are required, but we're there as your partner to help, work alongside you in terms of negotiating and discussing with them. And we also become the point of contact in dealing with the local council as well. So our advisory service, As I talked about it, we're here to help you realise the opportunities from your property and help you guide you through that development process. And what we offer is the expert guidance. We've got a whole bunch of real world case studies that we can also draw on, which includes, from a financial point of view, we've got real world costings from recent projects that we've done, that when we're putting feasibilities together, we've got numbers that we've seen, actual quotes and costs that have come in on recent projects that we use as part of our feasibility reports. So that becomes really important. Going down here, so our process, and I might just stop and I'll share our other process document. And this goes back to this idea of transparency of process. So the way we look to break down a project is essentially 3 key stages. And number 1 is the discovery stage, which is essentially what you're doing now. You're discovering all the options that you have in front of you, putting a feasibility together, getting a handle on financial estimates, and then you run through the design process and finish with an approved resource consent. For us, that's such a key step to get to once you get that resource consent, because that's the big tick from the local council that you're able to go ahead on that project. Our stage 2 process is essentially getting you to the point where you're build ready. And this may change from project to project. Obviously, you guys aren't looking to sell, so you're not going to be doing a sort of sales and marketing process. It's going to be kept as part of the whaanau. But there are a whole bunch of other consents and approvals that you're likely to need to be build ready. And also, we can help you guide you through a procurement process as well, line up the builders for the job. The idea being that at the end of stage 2, the next stage is to put a shovel in the ground and start building. And then so stage 3 for us is going through that build and subdivision process. So again, taking back to that idea of transparency of process, we try to make things as simple and as clear to understand as possible. Stop that share. One more document, just to give an idea of, again, this is often the sorts of your development team, the number of different consultants that are likely to be involved in the process. And again, going back to this idea of 3 stages of a development process, and all the sub stages, there's going to be a lot of moving parts, a lot of consultants that you work with, and a lot of them will come and go, at various stages of the project. But for us, as you can see at the top, where that red bar, we stay as that sort of key consultant that works with you the whole way from start to finish. And these other consultants and various professionals will sort of jump in and out of the process as we go through. So yeah, that's a bit about us. I mean, I could go into some projects we've been working on. I've worked with a number of, obviously we're Auckland based, so a lot of our work has been in Auckland. We've worked on a range of projects, from helping people just doing single lot subdivisions through to multi-unit projects. We've done a couple of community housing provider projects, working with Habitat for Humanity, working with Kia Ora. So yeah, we've got a whole range of experience and background. But we just really thankful, and thank you to Kelly for giving us the opportunity to come and talk to you all. And if you've got any questions, we'll be happy to try and help answer.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, Thomas, on your vast experience and what you guys do. Question time, I guess.
Yes.
Hand up. Oh. Is there anybody you'd like to put your hand up for a question? Any questions anybody would like to add to Thomas's presentation, Carl? Thank you very much for that, Thomas. I think
we're all good.
I think so.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, again, thank you all for the opportunity, and we might talk in soon.
Thanks very much for that,
Okay,
Thomas.
cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Am I handing this over to you now? Just unmute yourself.
What was that, Kelly? Kitty? Mamai had a question. Can't hear you, Mamai.
All right. I hardly have any questions because you fellas are virtually answering everything before we get to answer them. You fellas are doing so well. I just want to say thank you.
Am I handing control back to you?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hang on. I'm trying to get into the document. Let me share it this way. It's in the chat. Oops. Sorry, guys. It's doing its own thing.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to bring up the share. So we've had 2 apologies for tonight. The first one was supposed to be bringing through a PowerPoint from Sharon. They've got a tangi to go to, so I was having a few problems with that one. So basically they were giving their details of how long they've been and what they can do and how they can help us. I'll probably put that PowerPoint up in the chat for everyone to have a look at later because it's just not coming up on Zoom.
Yeah, but don't worry about that. We can worry about that later.
Yep. And the next one was civil plan. Now, civil plan had already gone and toot with their drone and taken a photo of our land, and they put in the apologies. They apologise. They don't know anything about the Māori courts, but there's a piece of paper which I'll also put up in the chat, which states what is considered Māori land from their civil planning perspective and how far everything has to be back from our puna and from our lake, also from the road, what is classified as Māori and what isn't classified, and who we will probably have to, whether or not, like Shane was saying, whether the council gives the approval or we don't have to worry about the council because it's Māori freehold and stuff. But they've made a start. I'll put that because it's like 3 pieces of paper. And if you don't understand what you're looking at, which is what I did, it's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. Explaining about different parts of the usage of land and everything else like that. So Ruben hasn't turned up at the moment. So
that leaves Tony.
Tony, would you like to, the floor, the stage is all yours. Oh, hopefully we weren't eating something.
Kia ora. Thank you so much for inviting me to share with you what I do and how I support our people to create Papakaainga. My name is Tony and I whakapapa back to Ngāpuhi and Te Rarawa. My ancestral land lies in Ahipara and Pokipoto, And that's where this all began for me. So my background is in construction. I've owned a residential construction in the past, very successful construction company in Auckland. So I've worn many hats, started it from scratch, built it into a $30 million company when I left. Not that it's really about the money, but just really to show you or explain like the larger scale of jobs that I was doing and the responsibility that I had around the financial side of having a business like that. I've also got a background in social services and not-for-profit. So, and I sit on the trust board for my own whaanau trust up in Pokipoto. So I had been to, how I got here was kind of a mistake, or maybe not, but I would sit in on our trust meetings and hear, you know, a lot of conversation around Papakaainga. I grew up in Australia, so I was Māori until I was 13. And so I didn't even know what Papakaainga was until about 10 years ago. So when my whānau were talking about creating Papakaainga, and I sort of was too busy. I've got 4 children, so I was busy being a mum and running a business and some of the other things that I had to do. After COVID hit, life changed dramatically for me. So I had some time and space to really look at how I can make this a reality for our whānau. So it took me 3 months to create a master plan, get the funding approved, and get it all in order for us to move forward. We actually start digging next month, which is very exciting. And, you know, listening to Shane speak about some of the things that you have to deal with before you get to that point, you know, it's not an easy feat, but just really kind of recognizing what Shane was saying around, you know, coming together and having a vision together and how powerful that can be when it comes to Papakaainga and what you can access. And when I spoke to my whānau, and this is how I speak to everybody who would like to explore Papakaainga, I get everyone to think big, like think as big as you can. What is it you want? You know, like it can be like the biggest dream list that you can imagine. And so, and then I put it into a master plan, and I will sit down and I know how much each house is going to cost. I have a fair idea of infrastructure costs when I look at a project. And then I will whānau will self-fund, or I will put it forward to funders. And I work with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, and because I have a really good relationship with them. So in a nutshell, that's what I do, but I'll just kind of go into it a little bit more. So, you know, this is still kind of new for me, but development's not new, but the Papakaainga space is new for me. I wanted to do this because I wanted to reconnect to my own whenua, and I'm a doer. So I thought I'll just build a Papakaainga. That's how I can learn about where I'm from and who I am, and who, you know, get to know my wider hapu, and which I did, because you have to do lots of consultation with your wider hapu and iwi when you do these kinds of projects. And so it's been a really rewarding process for me personally, and you know, really grateful. When I look at Papakaainga, I look at it from a holistic viewpoint, because it's more than just housing. You're actually creating, for me, it's about creating an interdependent ecosystem for Māori to thrive, having less reliance on outside sources like government and, you know, agencies, creating and providing that for yourselves. And doesn't matter if you're a small whānau, hapu or iwi, you know, you still get to have the say over how you want to live. I push the boundaries when it comes to, you know, I'm the council. When it comes to council, I will push those boundaries, and I'm actually working in a more advocacy role with ministers around how to create an overall kind of plan when it comes to Papakaainga and Māori freehold land, and because at the moment it's all disjointed, it's not really working, and there's too much time spent with back and forth with council. So I'm a bit of a renegade in this space. I don't rely, personally, I have purposely not set myself up as a government organisation because I want to be able to push those boundaries as far as I can, that safely. So the project, I got our project over the line in 3 months. We got $7 million worth of funding. Very lucky. I didn't even know that was available until I started to research. We actually got that last year, and it's taken, we got our everything in for resource consent, we got our funding, and then we hit this snag, which is actually a really important part of the process, where we had to go out to our hapu and get permission to actually do this development. There was lots of pushback because there's been no new houses in Pukeputu for maybe 40, 50 years. So there was a little bit of like, why do they get to have new houses? Who are these people? Because we actually weren't very involved with our hapu. A lot of people who are coming back to the whenua, our kaumātua, are probably known, but the younger whānau, perhaps not. And admittedly, we were working in a silo. You know, our whānau were working like independently to create this Papakaainga in our whenua, where we whakapapa back to. We didn't give any consideration to the wider hapu, and to me, that's actually a really important process. It's valuable, and sometimes I know people find it can take a little bit more time. But I'm all about the long-term vision. I'm about strategy. So whenever I create a project, I think about 40 years down the track, how's it going to look? How are you going to look after it? Are the houses going to be safe? Are we using materials that we can easily replace, repair, and all of those things? And I have a sick child, not anymore, but when he was a baby, because the house we were in was unhealthy. So obviously that's a big thing for me when I build, or companies that I work with have to be healthy homes as well. So yeah, I mean, that is kind of how I got here. I feel very passionate about what I do. Like I really want I want Māori to be able to create their own way of living. And for me, Papakaainga really creates that. And if you've looked at lots of research around the world, people who live the longest live in community. And not to mention the value that for me, like I don't know much about, I'm learning more about who I am and who my ancestors are. And I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for this Papakaainga and the conversations that we get to have intergenerationally. So yeah, that's sort of my driver, really. My driver. I'm a grandmother now, and so my granddaughter will know no different. Not like me. I was never brought up near our marae. So my granddaughter has had her feet on the whenua already, and so to her, this is just going to be normal. She will learn Māori. She'll, you know, be involved, and so are my children. I've always had a social lens whatever work I've been doing, and my children have also followed those footsteps. So my oldest son's a lawyer. He does a lot of work around restorative justice, and he's really passionate about housing as well for our people. My daughter, she's studying in the design space for housing as well. She's about to graduate. My third daughter, she's the one who's provided me with a granddaughter. She's my misfit, but I love her. And my youngest is 15, and he got the world right in front of him. And so yeah, so that is just a little bit of a personal why. What I actually do is I work with whānau right from the beginning. I listen to all your dreams, aspirations, visions, no matter how big or crazy or weird they are. I take it all on board and I put it on paper for you. And then we can look at some costings, dependent on if you have the finances to go through resource consent yourself, and planners, I support with that. If you need help to get funding, I will support to try and do that as well. And then I oversee the whole project. I don't tell you what builders to use. I don't tell you what infrastructure people to use. I look over the whole project and make sure it's running. You have to be a little bit agile when it comes to these projects. So you have to learn to I will always work on behalf of whānau, which is why I'm not a building company or infrastructure. I'll just make sure that everything that's being done is according to your plan. And relationships are really important. I'm a great team player. I will only work with people who I think are good. who have good reputation. I would, if you're going for funding, I need to actually put 3 sort of funding packages forward to funders so that, you know, they can see the options, but ultimately you get to choose. I like to create a circular economy. So if we're going to be building in your area, then we want to try and use your area people to help build. And I don't want to share too much because I have some IP about how I do things behind the scenes, but I can source all the products. I can train all the builders. I have all the social service wraparound. So it's all in one, but in saying that, I also love working with other people. So it doesn't have to be done my way. But I need to, if we're going, when it comes to money, large scale projects, the money side is really important. So that has to be watched really carefully, and reports need to be done back to you, to funders, or wherever the money is coming from, and everybody needs to be held accountable. So that's, I sort of like working as an advisory role. I'm actually I work all throughout New Zealand. So right now I'm in Queenstown. I've actually relocated to Queenstown to do some work with Ngāi Tahu on some larger scale projects. But I've got projects in Northland, the Waikato, Rotorua, Taupo, Tauranga, and I've got some in Auckland as well. They're all Papakaainga. I've got about $100 million worth of work in my pipeline that I'm having to help and support and to get into a state where we can move forward. And like Shane said before, the funding, you know, it's a little bit up and down right now, but I know what they like. So I present the package in a nice bow so the funders can see, you know, what it's going to look like. And they like that. I know there's some funds going to be let go in November because I've got a couple of projects that are getting those funds, and then probably January, and then I don't know what's going to happen after then. When it comes to some of my larger scale projects, so like my smallest project is 20, I'm doing infrastructure for 20 homes, but I'm actually building 10. So I like to future-proof because there was actually conversation that came up at our own whānau meeting, like some of our rangatahi, they were like, you know, what about if we want to live there? And so we decided to push the infrastructure and do infrastructure for 20 homes, but we only need 10 right now, just for our own whānau. And I'm also working with hapu, my own hapu in Pukeputu, to create an overall strategic plan for the area around housing so that everybody's on the same page. And, you know, it's a little bit of a Wild West up there at the moment. And there's a lot that needs to be done. And I like to think of the long-term vision and make sure that any funds that are coming in or anything that's going to be spent on a project is not going to be wasted. It's still going to be there 20, 30, 40 years. So some of the other things you need to think about when it comes to Papakaainga is that I use a rental model because you get more funding. That doesn't mean that they get rented to anybody. It just, the homes will always be used for people that, or for our whānau anyway, who whakapapa back to the whenua. The reason we have a rental model is because home ownership wouldn't work for us. We have 4.5 hectares. We have hundreds of beneficiaries. There's simply no way we can create home ownership on that piece of land. So, and also I don't think home ownership, that's a colonizer way of thinking of owning something. And so I like to look at it as like a rental model. Everybody pays a rental amount for each home. It's way below market rent. The trust manages that, and then that money can be dispersed for education, putting back into your people, however you see fit. You can use it to buy normal land, general title land, and do some home ownership over there. But really, I just look at it as a way to create generational wealth, especially for our smaller whānau. And then at an iwi and hapu level, I'm doing larger projects. So I've got in Rotorua, I've got they're the majority of my contracts at the moment because of there's no homes, and people will be coming out of hotels soon, and they will be homeless. So that is where I've been called to do some work. And then in Waikato, I can't talk about this project, but there's 3 different developments of 50 homes that are going to be done there, which are iwi. So, you know, there's a lot of, in my mind, I like to think that instead of the government building all these state homes and our people living in them, why don't iwi take control of that themselves, build the homes on their own land and rent them, and then benefit from that income. So with that, you need wraparound services. You need to make sure you have all of that stuff in place, which I'm working with a really amazing charity organisation at the moment who are doing it really well, and who have been asked to duplicate that in other parts of New Zealand. I mean, Tainui do it really well. They have a really good support wraparound structure there. I mean, what I hear it all the time. They even have their own restorative justice stuff happening there, which is super exciting. And this is what I want to see for all of our people around New Zealand. I want everything to be put back into our hands so that we can take ownership of that again, or leadership for our own people, because we know how to do it best. So I also want to point out that my te reo is not very good. I'm just starting to learn, but I've always operated from a Te Ao Māori lens. I didn't know what it was until the last 5 years of being more involved with my whānau. So I have a holistic view on how I do things. And also, you know, even though I advise and I watch over the whole project, I do have the building skills. Like, I've been there and sometimes I've had to dig things, and when it comes to infrastructure, I've had to like tie pipes when it comes to buildings, doing slabs. You know, I've had to step in and do things, and I'm not scared of that. Not that I will be doing that, but I'm just wanted to kind of point out that I'm not scared of doing the hard work or having those tough conversations. I think that I have covered everything that I do. Basically, I provide a turnkey service. I work with you right from the beginning to create your plan, right to keys in hand. And resource consent alone, we had 26 different professional services, you know, so like, you don't have to worry about that. You will hear about it, you'll be told about it, but you don't have to sort of lose sleep over it, so to speak. I get to do that, and actually I like it. It's fun. Yeah, any questions?
Tēnei te mihi ki a koe, Tony. He miharo ngā whakaaro i o mahi nui, mahi koe i tō tātou iwi o te motu. He rawe. Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and your experience and your whakaaro. I just wanted to say that, really. Refreshing to be able to hear of someone like yourself in terms of your whakapapa, your whenua back, having grown up in Australia, where a number of us have been, and you know, we've come back and you know, wanting to stay on our own whenua now. So I just wanted to me to you, Tony, and all the best with your amazing journey. And yeah, tēnā koe.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out as well, just a little bit more about just our project, the first one we're doing. We're doing the infrastructure for 20 homes, building 10 of them. We'll have our marakai, where there used to be one many years ago, so we're re-establishing that. We also have a riverbank that goes around the back of our land and between one of the marae. We're going to do riparian planting, but within community, to keep those funds in community. and we have a short-term camping ground, which is what our young people wanted. So I say short-term because 2 or 3 nights, so that they can have that feeling of reconnecting to the whenua, because I didn't know what that felt like until I actually stepped onto it myself, and it was amazing. And we want our people to feel that, who can't live there or who are visiting and want to be part of the Papakaainga, because it's just more than just the houses. And then we have a communal area of a barbecue and just a small sort of meeting house, not to take away from our marae, but really just for the purposes of like admin, or if we want to do small wānanga and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm gonna read our mind. Kidding.
Kia ora, Tony, thank you for being here and you're sharing your expertise. I think one of the big questions the whānau have also asked, as well as in terms of, some of us who do have KiwiSaver would like to use it on our first home, as well as with funding. Is that available for us to do so? Kia ora.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I get asked this a lot. That's probably out of my expertise, to be honest. I know of it being done. I guess if I knew that's what you wanted to have done, when we create master plan, I'll also create do some financial modeling for you, and then that's probably where it could fit, and then would seek advice around that, how we could make that work. The only thing is if it sounds like you probably want an ownership model as opposed to rental. So KiwiSaver probably wouldn't work for a rental model, because that's a temporary, well, it's not actually temporary, but what I mean is that, once you move on from that home, then another person will live in that home. So yeah, I that's probably where I can't see it working. I don't actually have anyone I'm working with who's doing ownership model, just for transparency. I actually don't really believe in it. Yeah.
Also, another parte that came up as well. Can you give some examples that you have maybe worked with trust boards, and possibly with you probably touched upon it in regards to the Māori Land Court? Kia ora.
Yeah. So again, like the Māori Land Court is they're actually really good to deal with. In my experience, they're quite good to deal with. So if you had any questions or needed any advice, you can actually go directly to them. I'm legally, I can't really give advice around that. I always try and get people to, if they've had Māori freehold land and they've put it into general title, I'll try and get them to turn it back. Feel like it's protected, a bit more protection there. I've even got people who have bought general land within where they whakapapa back to and turn it into Māori freehold land. So I guess I'm just, I legally, my son, sometimes I hand things over to his law firm if there's like quite intricate things to deal with. But if you go to the Māori Land Court, they're really, really good. They're actually trying to get through all their workload right now really fast. I've just been with a whānau who've gone through something, and I sat in on the meeting to help them. And the judge was saying at the end that, trying to get through their load of stuff sitting there. A lot of the stuff that sits in the Māori Land Court are usually people trying to get land off other whānau, which is really, really uncool. So yeah, they're trying to work through that. Did that answer your question? If it didn't, I'm happy to.
Partially, but also what are sort of examples that you may have worked with sort of trust boards, like we are Herere Trust. I'm not operating as the Herere Trust tonight, I'm just being a whānau member. Kia ora.
Okay, yeah, sure. So a lot of my work, I have my first job is starting next month. All the work I have been doing over the last 2 years is being admin and paperwork and back-end stuff. So I have been dealing with a lot of whānau to really just advocate and share this message of everybody working together and getting on board and how powerful that is. I just feel like when we're divided, we're just not as strong. And as if we can all work together and have like a communal vision of how things should be. And then actually, when I think about when people share visions, these are conversations that were had like 10, 20, they overheard them from their ancestors, their elders, right? So we're really just living out a vision for our elders, because they didn't have what we have now. We sit in this really privileged situation right now where we can actually make real change. And so in terms of like how real life stories of how I've been working with whānau, everybody's different. Everyone has different needs. But I guess my job is to really listen and take on board what it is that's needed, or what the outcomes are what your outcomes are going to be, and navigate the process from that space, alongside my professional expertise of how to create a development. I've had, I get a lot of, I take on a lot of people's anger. I hear it, because there's a lot of animosity. I go to Hui and I hear it, and it's, it's sad and it's not always pretty, but there's also lots of resolution that comes through being able to get it out on the table. And if I can always pull it back and bring it back to having that collective vision for our future generations, because that's actually what, it's really important. Also, we want our kaumātua and our like live in healthy, safe homes, The way some of them are living right now, it's just not good. So I really try and get people to think about that, so the process can be a bit quicker. Yes.
Tēnā koe, Tony, for your kōrero, which touched on quite a few of our heartstrings, especially for our whananga and stuff like that. We have our other manuhiri who's now in the room. Pipueri, you've got a pātai?
Oh, kia ora, Tony. Thank you for your sharing your knowledge and your experience with us tonight. It's been enlightening. You talked earlier about the rental model. Would that be kaumātua living in that Papakaainga? And do they get a little bit off track, but do they get any funding from the government to help subsidise their rent? Kia ora.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, okay, there's a couple of different things happening for different projects. So our project in particular, I can speak on because it's fresh and it's about to happen, is that we get 100% funding for our infrastructure, and we're getting 75% of funding for our homes. So we have to find 25% of the homes, which is about $1 million. Actually, it's 800,000. And so what we have to borrow that from the bank, and then which means each home has to have a price attached to pay off that mortgage. So that's just where I create this financial modeling, so you can have a look and see what will those costs look like, and then you can work backwards. So for instance, kaumātua home would be it's usually like 1.5 bedrooms, because feedback has been they don't want 2 bedrooms because they're scared someone might come and live with them. So but that can look different for everyone. You can have 2 bedrooms if you want, it's fine, but they're usually about $220 a week, it works out. And then a 3 bedroom is about $315 a week. and a 4-bedroom is about $360 a week. So, you know, that's so much cheaper than market rent. And in 10 years, you own those homes. So in 10 years, your trust, whoever's holding those assets in your whānau, your trust board or whatever it is, you own those homes in 10 years. You can decide what you want to charge. If you don't want your kaumātua to pay, they don't need to pay, so, but I would recommend making sure, whānau, other people were paying, because you need that income to cover maintenance and rates and insurances and operating costs for your Papakaainga. And so the costs that I just gave you as an example of what, not just paying your mortgage back, but also covering rates, insurance. And also if you're going to follow a rental model, you want an outside agency to manage that, because if someone was to muck up or not abide by those rules that you've set as a whānau, you don't want to be their landlords. You want to be able to come in and support and help and do what you can to advocate for your whānau member, and just, kind of give them some space to, fix whatever's going on. And yeah, so like things, that's kind of what that cost, and don't be scared of mortgages, because, it's doing something good. You're creating an asset base. And so when your houses are finished, you've got a good solid asset base there, which you can leverage and use to do other things if you choose.
Just one more thing with that. Are you in touch with any insurance agencies that may cover things like if whānau are unable to pay their rent due to whatever may be happening with them?
Yeah, so no, I haven't encountered that. I haven't looked at anything like that. But when we look at getting our mortgage, it's underwritten by Kāinga Ora. So they would help step in as well. So if they couldn't pay their mortgage, that's what we're doing for ours, and I'm using a similar model for other people. They would step in. Also, some of our larger iwi, like I know in Waikato, they're sort of joining forces with other iwi leaders to create like a CHIP, which is community housing. You can get access to funds for community housing, which can alleviate some of the rental costs. So you can access that. I've never worked in that side of things. I've always worked in like a commercial lens, and so the social housing side, I work alongside somebody who's really specialized in that, but it's not my strength. I've seen how it can work. And if that's something that you wanted, I would need to know like at the beginning of the project, and that would reflect in the financial modeling and the people that I would also get advice from.
Okay. Ngā mihi, thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any more questions? Oh, then just want to welcome our man from Ngāpuhi country, Mr. Ruben Taipare of Whareauku. Welcome aboard.
Ai, kia ora.
Hi.
Tēnā koutou. Mihi nui ki a koutou. Haere mai ki te whakarongo ki a koutou. Mēnā he pātai ki au, mea pātai mai. Kia ora tātou.
So tēnā koe, we would like to learn more about how you go about building your whareauku. Anything you can tell us around it as part of our development, because we're wanting the whānau to have choices, and so this is a choice should they go down that road, that we want to be making sure that we know the information correctly. So you're the man for the job, we hear.
Kia ora tēnā. Kia ora koutou. Whareauku. Yes. Whareauku. I'm sorry, I thought I'd go for a walk. All my kids are noisy as in the whare, so I come out and have a little tikis for a bit of a hikoi. Let's do that. How do I do that? Turn this camera thing around. There it is, that thing there. That's it. Anyway, this is my Papakaainga whānau. I tēnā koutou. Yes, I'm up in Taitokerau. Also from Tūhoi. My mother's from Waimanakaku, but
Ngā
I've
mihi
been,
e whunganga.
yeah, I thought I'd just come up here. This is one of our, we have three of these whare on our property. There's one here, and you can see the roof of another one down there.
Ai.
And then there's just the one I just walked out of, which the whānau are in at the moment. And my background is building. I've done building and transport back in the 80s. Done my trade over in Sydney, actually. Over in Kogarah, Polytech. I'll just grab a seat over here. Nice and quiet over here so you can hear me. Not too sure what our time frame is to have our kōrero, but try and answer any of your questions you have and see if I'm relative to what you're trying to achieve. But yeah, this is one of our Papakāingas that we live on. I've lived on Papakāinga all my life. Noho Māori. This is my whenua Māori. Those are all my neighbours over there. The Machi whānau over there. We're Taipari whānau here. Wāta's over that side. So I don't know anything else really than Noho Kāinga, Papakāinga. My background is got to start in commercial. Started in commercial building over in on the building sites, steelworking, etc. over in Sydney. But I came home in '98. Hoha tēnā. Just going around in circles over there really in Aussie. Wasn't my thing. So I came home to work this whenua. Worked the land and gardening. I loved the gardening thing from my grandparents and my parents. I like doing my farming, horses and fishing and diving out here. I'm up here in the north, I'm in Aipara. So there's down over there, you can see the beach down there. That's Toineroa Tohe, goes up to Rerenga Wairua. And so yeah, you know, noho whenua, that's a huge part of the whole Papakāinga process. If you haven't got your relationship to your whenua, it's going to be tough. Going to be hard work. I was listening to your previous speaker, and I totally understand where she's coming from. Her experience around these things, especially around social housing. Social housing for Māori is tough. It's hard, yaka. It's hard. I actually I did social housing in let's see, 2008. Did the university program. We were asked at that time. Tariana Tiria was the Associate Minister for Housing. So we worked the social housing unit. We came into with problems back in those days. You know, they just didn't have the confidence in our ideas around Papakāinga. And they were trying to impose their colonial concepts of Papakāinga housing onto us as Māori and on Māori land. And it didn't work out. So we kind of like had a dispute, and we worked together to create the Māori housing unit, the one that they described today with the 75% funding and the and all of the infrastructure being paid for. That was some of the work we did back in those days, and good to hear that it's still going. I got out of it, to be honest. I'll tell you, whānau, I struggled in that government paradigm. It was very difficult working with Te Puni Kōkiri, even though, and with Te Matapihi, you may have heard of those organisations, but I was there at the inception of those organisations and found it just very difficult to work with because government, they don't really give you the money. They don't really give you the funding. What they'll do is they'll tell you that, yes, we're going to fund your project, but unless you do the project our way and doing it using our systems and our products and our processes and follow our consent systems and everything like that, you won't get the money. And then once you get onto it, you're tied into their system. You're tied into their rating systems and everything like that. Hey, Macau Koutou, that's another story. It's the bureaucracy of the system. Just to let you know that I got out of it. I walked away from it, and rather than becoming a struggle around funding and getting involved in all of the details around the financial side of the situation, I walked away to put myself into an environment which had the capacity to look at the problem and become organic in finding those solutions. And that's what I feel I've done. I've stayed true to my principle and my philosophies, mea he tino Māori mātou, and stuck to those mea tika puna me te aroha. Our character as Māori is very strong. If we have to believe in that confidence in ourselves, within ourselves, and uphold this concept of sovereignty, tino rangatiratanga, it's very hard to do it underneath a government structure. So it's been a long, hard road. So 2008, where we at now, 2024 now. So I don't know, what's that, 14 years now. I've been operating on my own, doing my own thing. And I can say I'm very happy with what and the space that I'm in. Obviously, if I had stayed in their government system, I may have been able to do more, but I've helped projects all over the country. I've done about 50 different Papakaainga projects, assisted in different levels, either full contract or just going in and advising. We won a New Zealand Master Builders Award in 2021 for one of the projects that we done. Was a earth building for our council, for the Taitokoro Kaunihira. It's the only public building that's actually registered, full consent for an earth building for a public structure. So that was for the Innovative Award. I'm very proud of that. It was a commercial award, by the way, even though it was a social build. Was a commercial award. So very proud of that. Why I allude to that is we've worked very hard on the engineering aspects. We worked very hard around the building standards. We worked very hard around the environmental impacts that our housing has. So we're very high in the green building standards. What we've started with these houses here, this material that we've started with here, this all comes from this whenua. All of this material here comes from this whenua. But we've advanced since then. We had a very high labour input in those days. 2008, we had a high labour input, but now we've fine-tuned it. We've got the right equipment now through our own investments to fine-tune our processes and our systems now. And whereas, say, a wall this big here behind me, 2 meters by 2.2 meters high, would take me an entire day hard slog to do this wall. This wall's here 200 thick by 2 meters by 2.2, and it would have taken me a good 10-hour time frame with about 8 guys. Now I can do a wall this big, 3 of us, 4 comfortably, 4 nice easy day. We'll come in the morning. We'll start from the bottom of the sill here, and we'll work our way up. We should be finished by about 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Now, start at 8 o'clock. 1 o'clock, say 4 or 5 hour day to do these walls now with just 4 of us, and it's a nice easy day now. And what's the other benefit of these walls is, and so we'd do that, then we'd have lunch, and then we'd break down our from work that we did to do this wall, shift it and do another, and set up to do another one the next day. And that's just a basic, nice, easy build. A lot of good work. Don't need to go to the gym or anything like that. But the main thing, the reason why I stuck to this, I've done a lot of different builds, of course. Of course, I've done steel, done timber. I've done a lot of different versions of ukwharuku, rand earth, adobe, hemp, all of them. The main reason why I stuck with this one, though, and fine-tuned and worked on this one is it's structural. So being structural means this house stands on its own. There's no extra expenses in framing or concrete poles or anything to hold it all up. It stands fully on these. These are double glazed. The money that we save doing these, we can put into our double glazing. So the thermatics on these houses is, well, there's nothing touches us. Nothing can beat to us. Where my average, so I did with the university again. We did the thermatic testing as well, and our average throughout the year, even though we have mild temperature up here in Aipara, we're famous for having beautiful weather up in here. The thing with us up here in the Taitukere, though, is we have very volatile weather. We can be 4 seasons in a day, and so that's hard on materials. If you've got a timber home, or if you've got something like that, even these what do they call these? I got a chili bin home. Sorry, what do they call that stuff? Anyway, it's these new homes that they put together, and they drop the flat pack them onto the site, and then they put them together, and it's and they just assemble them very fast. But it's in a place like we have up here in the Taitukere, we live very coastal. We have 4 seasons in the day up here. In the morning, it's beautiful and sunny. We just finished having a big rain come through, so that's the type of we have to put up with. But through the thematic testing that we've done in here, our average temperature in these homes is around 20 degrees. 20 degrees, 12 degrees gets to in the winter. And then the highest it gets to is around 26, 20, 28. But that's not quite right, because there was a whole testing on it. But on the average, if we put all of our thermatic data together and we averaged it up, it came to around 20 degrees throughout the year. So that's non-assisted. There's no heat pumps, no fans, no fireplaces, nothing like that. We do have fireplaces, but we don't really need them. The other thing is that with this material here, we've improved our seismic strength. When I first started doing these down in the engineering department, we were getting around 5 MPa. Oh, sorry. Yes, 5 MPa, which passes building standard. Building standard for a normal building is 3 MPa plus. Concrete is around 18. We started around 5. We went up to 7 to 10, 15, and now we're at a capacity of around 21 MPa. And that's just natural product. It's just natural product. You still need to do assessments of your land. I couldn't say the same. Every land's got a different deposit of material. You're looking for a good clay, looking for good access to clay and sand are your main ingredients. Now, if you do that, benefits of doing that is once you have developed the mechanisms and the systems in place to build your homes, you can replicate and you can continue to build as many as you want after the fact. Whereas standard building, you're always at the mercy of the market. You're always at the mercy. You'll see a lot of builds right now are behind 16 months now to 2 years behind, basically because they have to wait for access to material. Whereas with this concept here, if I wanted to build another whare, all of the materials that I need to do so are easily accessible, which is just a 20% clay rate, around a 60% sand. If you can get a ideal ratio of a particular material like that that's close to you, that has those ratios already, you've got gold. You've got some gold there that you can just build it. You don't have to go and purchase. You don't have to go and get a loan. You just go and get that material and you do the mixing with it now. We've developed those mixing ratios. We know how to do it. The expenses probably the biggest expense to do these is the floor, which you can do earth floors as well. We've done some houses like that. I do concrete just because as a builder, just want to get their job done, and it's a very strong model for the family. So we do a lot of concrete, and yeah, the cement that goes into the walls, there's a 10% cement ratio for the material that goes in to make up the cement and sand mixture, aggregate, and after that, it's all up to you. Good luck. Just work hard. Start in the morning. Make sure you got a nice smoko and a nice cup of coffee for you at lunchtime to have a break, and then after lunch, set up and do it again. I don't get involved in funding financial issues and all of that. That's for the families to work out. I got involved in that stuff, and it just became very difficult for me to concentrate on the construction side of things, whereas I was spending most of my time working on trying to help the whānau with their financial issues. It's either you're ready to do it, whānau, or you're not. If you're ready to do it, don't do anything else. Do your housing. Don't do this and it's a hobby. If you've got other things on your plate that you want to do, go and do that. And then when you're finished doing that and you're ready to go and build, start building. But don't do building and then, I'm going to go for OE, or I'm going to go and play rugby. This is serious stuff. And it's getting harder. In 2008, 1998, when I got home, I was fortunate myself, my family, we were very close, my brothers and all of my extended family, very close, that we could sit down, we could see that this issue was coming in 1998. So we already have we have 2 Papakaaingas on this property. There's 100 acres here. Down at one end, down on the front end, we have a main homestead with 4-bedroom homestead with 3 family units on there. They're just mainstream material though. And those are 2-bedroom cottages and the main building with all of our sheds and everything for maintenance and work on the farm itself. And then we built this one up here with 3 Papakaainga whareauku, and it works out well for us. But the reason why we have managed to do this is because we're dedicated. Once we said we were going to do it, we took out our loan, and we didn't hesitate. Took the money, and we paid the money back. We have 2 loans. We have 2 mortgages. The mortgage on this place here, just to give you a background on the financial benefits of this place, is I'll have this paid off by next year, Waitangi. I can show you my mortgage on this one. On the one down there, on the mainstream building down there, I'm faster on this one than that one, and yet I was 10 years behind on building this one. Now, the reason why my financial is better on this one here is my mainstream building down there incurs maintenance within 5 to 10 years. We were spending all of our money on maintaining these buildings. They're just standard homes. They're nothing flash. It's just standard Kithe homes, Kithe buildings, cottages. So again, when I was telling you about how the effect of the weather up here, people don't understand that there's that type of weather that we have up here, and it plays havoc with your housing, even with the house and of your family in those houses, because the insulation in there, it creates a space in there for all of those pneumatics and all of that type of things that get into there. If you don't have good quality breathable material, which is what earth is. Earth is very breathable. Thing around these ones up here is I'm also off the grid. I'm on solar, so I don't pay a power bill. So a power bill on 3 homes is, well, what's the average? I don't even know anymore, but I'd say 300 maybe, if that's what it is on a home these days. That's $1,000 a month that I don't pay. So that $1,000 that I'd normally pay on if I was on the grid, I put that straight into my mortgage. I don't take that money. I leave that money, and every single dollar that I save in health, and infrastructure and everything like that goes back into either back into the wharehuku, goes back into the Papakaainga, or goes into paying that mortgage off. So I don't want my children to be inheriting the mortgage, even though this is theirs. We don't own these Papakaainga that we have up here. It's not a private bill. My wife and I were the main contributors to the mortgage, but our concept of investment is that our children will have a very good, sustainable and stable livelihood. And it has worked out as such. This was my argument with TPK in 2010, 11, around the economics. My research showed to me that I said if we put in good money into investing into good building, into good housing, in the beginning, it will pan out and it will pay for itself within the 10 years, and we would have a very good, sustainable lifestyle here in our Papakaainga. Well, it paid off within 2 years. Within 2 years, I had the benefits of that stress-free lifestyle, knowing that my concepts were valid, that they worked, all of the research that we had done. And I've had on here 3 engineers, 2 architects, academics, professors, PhD students. I've had on this project experts in solar systems. I've had so many people contribute to this. Pākehā, a lot of Pākehā, my Pākehā friends. I told them this was for Māori, and they said, that's okay. The thing that you're going to do is going to improve the well-being of your people. We totally support it. And well, but having said that, my knowledge and my experience is not just for Māori alone. I share this kōrero to everybody and anybody. So this kōrero tonight that I give to you fellas is my koha for all of the kōrero that was, and the help that has been given to me. It's my privilege to pass this kōrero on to the next whānau and the next whānau. And whatever you do with it, mea kia kaha, kia koutou, there's no obligation to go through with this. I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you some of the positives that my family have of benefit for doing this, and all of the other Papakaainga that we've helped around especially here in the Taitokero. I am dedicated to the Taitokero. I don't really, I'm not really keen on going anywhere else. Even though all my whanaunga's down in Mātātua, Waiariki, are all, bribing me with venison and free kai kaura down there, the ways in my te whānau up and nui. I'm dedicated to helping my whānau up here in the Taitokero. We've got a lot of issues up here to deal with, so that's where I am, whānau. Hoina no, e mihi atu kia koutou, kia maia. Mea kia manawa nui, kia u ki te whakapono, te aroa tētahi ki tētahi. Mea nui ngare kia hau, mea aroa tika me te pono, te rā te mea nui o tātou te iwi Māori. Mauri ora kia tātou. Pātai.
Yes, please. Thank you, Ruben. What does MPA stand for?
Oh, so that's the reading of the strength of your material. Concrete is, the MPA on concrete is 18. To get it any stronger, you have to put a chemical hardener in it, and it can get it up to 28 MPA. And so timber walls, very weak MPA, but the structure to stand in a challenging environment like an earthquake or a storm or anything like that gets it to that space where it passes building consents. So building consent, building standard is the bare minimum. If you do a building and it's according to the building standard, then once you reach those standards, those are the bare minimums. If it's around thermal ratings, insulation ratings, your ratings are R1s, R2s, R3s, that's what you need to do. And I'm not one for the politics around doing consents. to whether you go through council or you want to challenge them because you are freehold Māori lands. Now, kia koutou, that's your decision. But I feel it's important to have engineering advice and support in your plans. Get architects. They will save you money. If you try to go short and do it on free ones on the computers on the internet, they do have a valid space, but for the few thousand that you save, you can cost you almost your build if you don't have expert in your team. If you don't have expert knowledge or skills in your team, yeah, I strongly advise investing a few more extra dollars into those engineers, getting your geotechs, learning about your land and where you're at, making sure that the place where you position your homes, understanding the topography, what's the best energy efficient positions that you want to put your buildings in, taking all of those things into account, getting somebody who can advise you on those things in your community. But there are experts out there, consultants around those things that will come in, and they might charge a few extra dollars, but they can just make your life just a difference between emergency housing, seeking shelter, and something that will stand generationally for your mokopuna. That's what we should be looking at. We as Māori, we're generational. Mai rano noho tēnei whenua, we're not visitors, we're not tourists. And so the way that we're building and the way we concepts that we build and we make our decisions to build is around the money, and the money influences the quality of our build. Therefore, it influences the quality of our health and our well-being. And we need to take those things into consideration. When we're talking about the money, think about the impact that it will have upon the well-being of your whānau and that amazing mea whai tino rangatiratanga te tūmanako te moe a tēnā. Yeah, just finding that freedom of for our children and our mokopuna.
Yeah, I got another question for you. What is your standard pricing for whareruku from 2-bedroom to 6?
From when?
From 2-bedroom up to 6-bedroom.
Yeah, I made the mistake once of doing a 6-bedroom home for a whānau. And sometimes our Māori, we go from nowhere to stay to want to have a mansion. And I've got I have got about 3 or 4 different versions that I have come up with, and the the design around them was more around the well-being of the whānau. So taking it from a baby, from a child to a elderly kaumātua, you can be anything in between those and still have a comfortable lifestyle within that buddy. That's the difference between what I'm proposing and what mainstream builders are doing. They'll sell you a 4-bedroom home that can't even use half the rooms, can't even use half the house. So 2-bedroom, yeah. Everybody's different. I don't do square meterage, but if I was to do one, I would say that I'd be 70% cheaper than a standard build, and it's getting worse. It'll get it worse because the housing costs as it gets older and that it gets further and further, the prices are getting harder and harder to get builders, etc. But I'll tell you, just as a medium, let's try and do that. Let's say that's a raw estimate that for a 3-bedroom, whatever you can get a pricing on in your region for a 3-bedroom home in your region, I'll be able to do it for what I could be. I'd be able to advise you and creating a model that would be 70% cheaper. I could even get it down to more if you, as the family, are willing to be a part of that project. I've taught third generation teenage gangsters how to do these homes. I don't teach anybody. Once you get the basic pattern on how these work, it's easier than building standard homes, these homes, because it's our material, it's our land, it's if you use our own whānau to build their own papakaainga, there's a certain mauri and wairua that comes from the whānau who want to build their own homes as opposed to getting a builder in. Depending on the source of material, how easy it is to access that main material, you can build a 6-bedroom home, or you could do what we did here and build three-bedroom homes, which is the Papakaainga version that I prefer to support. Is it's about getting our whānaus into good, healthy housing, and the hard part is learning to live together. That's the tough part of this project. Here on my housing here, I have one family on one in the homestead, my cousin and his son in another one. Down in the front here is my niece, her partner and 4 kids, and my family is in the other home. And this one up here is our spare home that we have for manuhiri and rangatira kaumātua. Marama?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Kia ora, Reuben. Thank you for your kōrero. Obviously, out here in the Te Kaupata, we don't have it that bad with our clay. It's what we're known for. But I think the most big question, and it might be a silly question, I don't know if you've been asked this before, but the last 4 meetings ago, our mokopuna and our whānau, who were very interested in your whare, they were asking, is your whare part of Healthy Homes Standard?
Oh, my home surpass the international green building standards. I've had them come from America, Seattle, up here to have a look at our homes and the concepts, because it ticks so many boxes. The other thing here is, environmentally speaking, we don't have the same wastage that standard homes have. Our wastage, when you build a home with mainstream material, timber, steel, and everything like that, all of those offcuts and all of those wastage that doesn't get used, it's a footprint. It's an impact on your green rating. Whereas we don't have all of that, because this whenua, the houses itself comes from the whenua itself. So it reduces all of those expenses that cost for importing materials from China, even fabricating materials, all of that 4x2 and 6x2s and then 3x2s, they have to get fabricated. There's a huge amount of waste that goes into fabricating that particular material. Whereas with this one here, and even our concrete impact is minimal. We only do enough for the house itself. We don't do any further than that. Fits into the land itself. So there's that side of things. The economics of this type of housing is very affordable. And then if you take into consideration the longevity of the homes, and if you do some fancy mathematics around budgeting and what the overall cost is on the homes, these homes are 150 years plus. And the only reason why they're not any older is because after 80 to 100 years, they stopped testing them. And they just accepted that, yes, these homes will stand in. So these homes we went over the seas, all over the world, having a look at different models in the Mediterranean, in Asia, and in Australia. Even here in New Zealand, here in Aotearoa, there's a lot of examples around whareuku here. and the oldest building in New Zealand is wharuku, is rammed earth, and it happens to be up here in the north over in the Bay of Islands. It was a building called the Pompelia Missionary Mission House, which was built in 18... I think it was before the treaty. Yeah, it was, because it was about 1814, 18 something like that, and it's still there now. You can go over and see it now. So, the longevity of these buildings, that it's a local material, and if you do local labour on local land, on your own Māori land, you don't even have a standard. They couldn't really compute our standard comparable to the mainstream buildings that they do their standard ratings on. I hope that answers that.
Tēnā koe, Ruben. Approximately how long does it take you to make your standard 3-bedroom whare, please?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Depending on the commitment of the family, or even if the builder. So, I have a building team. I've got 2 building teams actually. One I hire, who's down in Wellsford, and they do an exceptional job. They're very fast. They're very fast. They're twice as fast as we are. We like to think that we're on a good standard. Around 100 days for a 3-bedroom home. That's after, though, if not including doing the concrete footings and the concrete floor. But from that point onwards, 100 days to get the roof on and the joinery in.
Do you have any more part-time? I'll give it back to you, Trevor.
Tēnei te mihi rawa tū ki a koe, Ruben. O ngā whakaaro i te hunga ngā whare o te whenua. Miharo, ki a koe mo tō whānau anō hoki. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi ki a koe. Tēnā koe ho, te whanaunga. E mihi ana. So if we have no more questions for Ruben, ko mutu, tēnei wā. Oh.
Tēnā koe, kia ora tātou. Nā mihi.
Kia ora, Ruben. Tēnei te wā whakamutunga te wāhanga nei. Nō reira, e karakia te mutuka. Kia tātou katoa, te ata whātua tātou ariki i Ukraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake. Āmine. Wow.
Quick question just before Shane goes off. I don't know, Mamai, you might, because you know more about in terms of container homes. Would we need a builder to support building our inside in the future? If we had a builder, because I know we had a quick quiz about that, but I wasn't sure because that's not my background. I can't hear you, Mamai.
So a 3.
Yeah, because you probably need walls.
Okay.
Like you got the outside, which is a container frame,
Yeah.
and any dividing up, possibly. It depends.
Yeah.
You can do it as steel, but steel is cold.
Hey, I come from Wellington. It's cold as there too. Hey, I haven't seen my cousin Tipperary in a long time.
No competition to the South Island.
There you go. But the point being is because, like, you know, I was just thinking, it's for whānau, we live right by the lake, right? We know we get that wind, so that's going to last. If whānau want to go for that option and having container homes, and if we need a builder, we may need to rely on somebody like, for example, Shane Hakara, with the expertise. I don't know, whatever that looks like. But I just wanted to ask the questions because I don't know everything. So I'm just putting those options out there.
Aren't they, I thought they were kit sets, so wouldn't that be all of it?
There will be cut out, that's what they said, in terms of like, the whānau have asked they've cutouts for the windows and the doors, but you'll need to restabilize them to make sure that they are set as, and especially, you know, we don't want them to blow over, so dig them down. I don't know how you guys do that, lock it down so it doesn't move.
Weld it all up.
Yeah, that, yeah. Because I know that's your expertise,
but
your husband.
Because of you got to have that concrete pad underneath anyway.
Yeah.
That's where you put your dyna bolts or whatever in to stabilize it.
Okay, that's cool. I thought I'd better ask because I don't know nothing about building, and we never know if we might need home in the future. If that is so, I'm just putting that option out there. And if he and only if he's willing to support us, will be greatly appreciated.
Of course, of course.
You're on mute, cousin.
I'm not on mute yet.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying that's it for this hui. It has reached 8 o'clock. If we can reconvene maybe in 10 minutes and just have a quick kōrero after that. Thank you, Shane, for your kōrero, being the first speaker. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day with your beautiful wife and your tamariki to be online with us and to get a better understanding about what we actually want to do for our whānau down in Te Kaupata Tainui waka. So, ngā mihi kia koutou. So is everyone all right with that? 10 minutes and we're back on and have a quick kōrero?
You just want whānau mai back in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Cup of tea.
So I'll see the whānau in 10 minutes.
I'll go get my Kiwi Save out.